Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here. It's the first time I've been here, actually. I've come from, well, originally I come from Australia, because I say I come from London and people go, the accent doesn't make sense. So originally I came from Australia in 2011. I've lived in Newham in East London since I arrived, actually, with my husband, and we now have a young daughter. If you've been to the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in Stratford, or if you've seen the London City Airport, then you know roughly where I live. So I'm in that area there. So I did the St Sed's Lay Pioneering course, which is an amalgamation with Chelmsford Diocese and CMS, Church Mission Society, so I finished that last year, and it was a fantastic pioneering hub. We were one of the first, and thank you to Andrea. We were blessed that, being the first, we were blessed with Andrea for a lot of the teaching, as well as some other people. So part of my ministry is, all of my ministry is working in the area and the context in which I live. Which I'll share a little bit about as well. So I don't have a logo, I don't have a PowerPoint. I have me, and that's God working in me to not have a logo and to not have a PowerPoint. So I'm feeling uncomfortable, but that's okay, I'm living there. So I work with young mums, teenage mums. The youngest mum I've had has been 16, and then up to, young women as well. My paid job is I work for a parenting charity, but my ministry is really, I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but it's listening. That may sound like nothing, but really listening is absolutely everything. And so I provide like a safe, non-judgmental space for young mums to be with me. Many of them have never had somebody listen to them before, with no judgment. So that's what I provide for them. Many of the women are pregnant. They've fled abuse most of the time. They're either in sheltered accommodation, they're vulnerable, they're at risk, they can be seeking asylum, refugee status. They all have very complex situations. Many are isolated, they don't have family. So a little bit about my context is, if you don't know Newham, it's a very diverse borough. It lacks affordable housing, is a very big problem. Many families are living in overcrowded accommodation. I met with a young girl that has just come from Bangladesh, and she was sent over here to marry. She has mental health issues, which is a very big stigma associated with her culture. When they get married, they tend to live with their father-in-law. That's part of the culture. If the family found out that she had mental health issues, that would bring a lot of shame to the family. In the 2-bedroom unit, they had 3 families, and she was one of the most isolated mums I've ever met. So there's a lot of challenging situations, really, for me to understand as well. Newham is the most ethnically diverse borough, with only 17% white British. I don't tend to see them. My ministry is not necessarily for those local women. We have the 2nd largest Bangladeshi population and the 4th largest African population. They have a very, very variety of different faiths. Christianity, obviously, Muslim, Hindu. Many have no religion. Buddhism, Sikh, and Jewish. Locally, our local hospital is Newham University Hospital, and 76% of the children that are born there are born to mothers that are born outside of the UK, which is the largest single group of mothers is born from Asia or from Africa. We also have the 2nd highest birth rate. So we have over 6,500 births in our local hospital, which is huge. And in 2005, we were the highest rate of teenage mothers. 6% were under 18 and 14% were under 20 years old. So through my normal work, I was attending places like childcare centres, local libraries, mixing with local groups, antenatal classes, etc. And I realised very, very quick that, we only have 17% of white British women. Well, where are they? Because the places that I was attending were the 17% were attending. So I thought, well, where is the 83% of mums, local mums? Where are they? Where are they attending? They're not going to antenatal classes, they're not going to groups, they're not going to... So where are they? And so I started to meet them. I come from a church that's also a community centre. We have a food bank. So I met I met a 16-year-old mum there, and I realised that they actually don't go anywhere. They don't feel that they fit in. They don't feel like that they can sit down in an antenatal class and start to learn. They come from complex situations. The majority of young mums that I have met have conceived by something like either rape or through being trafficked up. So the situations that they've never either shared to people, they don't have family locally, and there's a lot of stigma associated with their culture. So for me, it's been a lot of learning. It's been a lot of confronting myself, confronting my prejudices, which I didn't think I had. Especially in Australia, we're very laid-back culture. We'll have a beer with anyone, doesn't matter where you live. There's no class-oriented, like I find it quite here. I'm married to a black African man. My mum's Dutch, my dad's Italian. My brother's married to a Chinese lady. I was born in Malaysia, lived in Australia. So we are the United Nations family. So I didn't think I had prejudices. I didn't think I had bias. But, they come out. You realise that. And God's been really showing me very, very clearly what they are. Not necessarily where they come from. But it's been a real journey for me in guiding and understanding that when I'm there, when I'm speaking with a lady, I'm there for her. I'm not there to convert her. I'm there to listen to her. I'm there to understand. I'm there to be challenged and just to be a lamp. Just to be a lamp, and that's it. There's no judgment. And I realised that it's very easy to judge. It's very easy to assume. It's very easy to say to a young girl, well, what about your mum? Because if you had a good experience with your mum, or what about your dad? Or, who can you talk to? Well, nobody. Well, if they're self-harming, there's a lot of different symptoms, but what is the cause? And I find that just understanding what non-judgmental listening means is something that's very hard to describe, because we seem to somehow talk to reply. But just being there as God and letting God give the words if needed. And sometimes it's not about saying anything, it's just about being there and for them to understand that I am here, and I'm not judging you. And, society, we look at Brexit, what is Brexit saying to the women that I'm meeting? What is Brexit saying to the people of Newham? That are they welcome? Well, possibly not, but... So I feel that I provide a place of hope, but also a place of support. Many of the women, they've found themselves pregnant and they don't know what to do. They're new mums. All of a sudden they have a baby to care about. As we know, the first 1,000 days of a child's life is very, very important for that development of the child. If the needs are not met, then that child, it's proven that they will be in and out of the NHS system all their life. So that we know that first 1,000 days is important. If things are starting off bad and they have a fear of accessing support or formalised support, they're anxious, they're depressed, then then they need more support than just me. So I'm also part of the referral process, very aware of the local services that are available as well. So I provide that support for them as well. There's much shame in many of the families, but I find a lot of the women that they just want to be heard. They just want to be there. That's it. You know, a lot of them have not told anybody a soul of what they've gone through. Many may not have status in the UK, so they can't go and seek support. Many are afraid that social services will take their baby if they do seek support. Many cultures are afraid that if their family find out, then they will take them to specific religious organisations to have certain interventions. So there's a lot of fear. I find that my ministry is very individualised. It's not about getting everyone together and having a support group. I'm not quite sure where it's going to go. I know that it needs to grow, and I know that it is growing. But some of the learnings that I've come across, and some of the challenges, I think, but some of the learnings is obviously being really confronted by myself. Some of my prejudices around different cultures. It's really important to not have stereotypes, generalising. Just because you've met a certain culture doesn't mean that they're all the same. Everything's individualised. I realise now that when I came to Newham, it's such a melting pot of culture and faiths, and I absolutely love where I live, but it's very, very challenging. And I'm well travelled. I've done community work in different areas around the world, and one of those is Bangladesh and 4 different areas in Africa. And so I do build rapport quite quickly with different cultures, but when you get very deep, you can be very confronted very quickly. I don't go into a conversation or meet people to convert them. I go in for them to feel valued. So where that leads is up to God, really. He's taught me very clearly that it's not up to me to do anything, it's up to me to be present. And what does present mean? It means to not go there with a pad and pen and have to think about things. And so for someone that's very, in my past, it's quite corporate. I have outcomes, KPIs and PowerPoints and logos, and that's been very confronting to me for God to say, this is about me, not about what you want to do. So I like to see the staircase and not just the one step to move forward. And he's showing me that one step and saying, you now need to trust me. And this is I want you to walk through this step. But I'm really feel like I'm hearing clearly that I know that what that next step is. So I just take that next step. So sometimes we don't see the staircase when we want to, but we just need to have that faith and go with the Spirit. It's also led for me to be a bit more of a pioneer activist. I've become the member of the Maternity Voices Partnership locally, which is a partnership it's a co-production between local mums and professionals from the hospital, perinatal mental health team, local charities, and basically been a voice for some of these vulnerable at-risk women that are not receiving the support that they need because either they're afraid or the access to these support is actually too great for them. Whether it's through language. In our Newham borough, we have the last census in 2011 said that we had over 103 different local languages. So now we have nearly 150 local languages just in our area. So you can imagine the challenge that we have in having conversations and living as all these different cultures, all these different beliefs. You don't need to necessarily go to a different country now. You have the country all here. The whole world is residing where we live. So there's a lot of tolerance, a lot of acceptance needed, a lot of understanding needed. There's a lot of people with their own driver's licence and can't drive, but But as well as participating in the Maternity Voices Partnership, I've become stepped out and participating in a maternity action campaign. So that's something I've become involved in, which includes working with vulnerable migrants who are receiving maternity care. And they're being charged for maternity care because they don't have certain status within immigration. So there's a lot of fear that for pregnant women, if they go to a health visitor or if they go and give birth in the local hospital, the next day they're going to receive a $6,000 fine for giving birth. So this is an NHS change that's happened as well. So God's guided me to be that voice for specific women. But I think current challenges in moving forward in my ministry is obviously I can see the need and I can see what's going on, and as I journey with women, 2 of the women so far have prayed the salvation prayer, which is lovely, but it's not my absolute outcome. But it has been really lovely. I have a real transient area, so people come and they go. One of the ladies has moved out of the borough. She's not attending church, but she is attending, we talk very regularly, she's attending a particular Bible study with people her age, which is really lovely actually. So I'm still in a discussion with them as well. In expanding sort of my ministry, I think there's a couple of things that probably need to happen, and one is money. Obviously, the more time I give, the less time I have to paid work. So I don't really feel called, maybe yet, I don't know, to ordained ministry. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I'm in discussions at the moment with an organisation of maybe possibly getting funding to whether I want to accept that or not, or whether it's going to restrict me, but getting funding to support these women and young mums. The other thing is obviously training other people to do what I do. And the question to that is, what do I do? You know, I mean, sometimes it's really easy to train somebody in something quite concrete, like transferring knowledge about local services and signposting what certain organisations do, and antenatal care and postnatal care and information around perinatal mental health. And, you know, these things are knowledge that you can train, but, you know, making someone helping them be aware of their own cultural barriers and biases and consciousness and being tolerant and all the things that come with that richness of culture, you know, and embracing and engaging in that's hard to teach. And the difference between providing somebody information and providing them advice. You know, advice might come from a personal experience, but not necessarily right or wrong. Whereas information may come from something like if I've with a baby who's 7 weeks old and the mother's brings out a bottle and gives the baby apple juice in the bottle. You know, what do I do? You know, all these confronting things that I need to deal with, and how do you do them? How do you speak? And especially when you're with somebody where English is her third language. So, so I guess that's where I'm at. Some of the challenges that are around me, but I absolutely love what I do, and I'm not comfortable. But I'm filled with the Spirit, and so I feel at comfort. I know that doesn't make sense, but so thank you for listening.